Good. What's happening?
Well, thanks a lot for joining.
No problem.
First of all, of course, what it feels like to be back in Dream Theater.
It's extremely exciting. You know, I know for the fans, it's been announced for about 8 months or so, but they have yet to see the five of us in the flesh until the tour starts. So I think it's still maybe unbelievable for some people, but for us, we've been in the studio all this time, and it's very, very real and very exciting.
With your return to Dream Theater, how do you plan to balance your schedule with your other musical ventures, such as Flying Colors and the Wonder Dogs?
Well, honestly, when rejoining Dream Theater, I made a commitment to be focused solely on the band on Dream Theater, for at least for the immediate time being, for the next few years. So that's my sole focus right now. There's no way I could do Dream Theater full time and do all the other bands I assembled over the last dozen years. There's just no way. There's not enough time in the world to be able to do both. Dream Theater is a full-time commitment. So I'm fully focused on Dream Theater for the next several years, and everything else will just have to wait, and we'll see which of the other things survive in the long term. We'll see.
Do you think your return to Dream Theater will affect the creativity or the sound of some of your other bands?
Yeah, absolutely. It will affect the ability to function. If I'm out on the road with Dream Theater for a year and a half straight from now till the end of 2025, that's all I can do. So all of my other projects and bands are well aware of my commitment to Dream Theater at the moment. So they're very aware that everything is kind of on the shelf at the moment while I focus on Dream Theater full time.
A new album is already in the works. I know you can't spoil me on anything, but in your opinion, does this new album sound like it picks up from where Black Clouds left off, or is it something different in the band's career?
It it being honest, I think it picks up right where Black Clouds left off, to be honest. There's a certain style that the five of us have when we write together. And, if you listen to the albums with this lineup from 1999 Scenes from Memory through 2009's Black Clouds and Silver Linings, if you look at that string of five or six albums, that's the sound and style of these five people. So I think that's a good indication of, what you can expect with the new Dream Theater album. It definitely sounds like classic Dream Theater.
Since you mentioned, are there plans for Dream Theater to make Metropolis Part 3, or is that story concluded?
That's something we're not openly talking about just yet. So we'll see.
Well, you have performed in Brazil several times, both with Dream Theater and other projects. What are your best memories from playing in Brazil?
Oh God, I mean, I feel such a incredible connection with Brazil and the Brazilian fans. It's always been one of my favorite places in the world to play live. And I think I've played specifically in Sao Paulo with more of my bands than anywhere else in the world. I mean, obviously Dream Theater, but I've also played in Brazil with the Winery Dogs, Sons of Apollo, Transatlantic, Neil Morse Band, Metal Allegiance, the Shattered Fortress. I played down there with Stone Sour. I played down there with Fate's Warning. I played in Brazil with Avenged Sevenfold. So I think I've played in Brazil with probably more of my bands than anywhere else in the world. So obviously there's a very, very strong and long time connection.
You spent 13 years away from Dream Theater. Is there any particular song you are especially eager to play live?
I'm eager to play them all. I mean, if you would have asked me this question in 2010, there's a lot of songs like Pull Me Under and Metropolis that, we were just tired of playing thousands and thousands of times, or I'll speak for myself. I would have maybe said I was tired of playing, but now having not played any of these songs with the guys for almost a decade and a half, I'm excited to play any of them. So Pull Me Under and Metropolis and all these classic songs that we played 1,000 times will have a whole new breath of excitement for me personally.
Hmm. It has been a long time since Dream Theater played songs from the first album, When Dream and They Unite. Considering Charlie's untimely death, we will be playing songs from that album on this anniversary tour as a tribute to him.
You'll have to wait and see. I don't like divulging the set list in advance. I like keeping that a surprise. So I'm kind of not giving away any set list spoilers.
Since we are going back a bit to the past, I would like you to ask. I'd like to ask you about one of Dream Theater's most acclaimed albums, which, amidst these 40-year band celebrations, is also celebrating its 13th anniversary. The Awake album, your second album with the band. What memories do you have of writing and recording this album?
Awake is Dream Theater's third album, not the second.
But yeah, sorry.
You said it's my second album with the band.
Yeah,
No, I
your
was with the
second.
band from the beginning.
Yeah, yeah, it's fine. Sorry.
Memories of making that album. I mean, the three that come to mind. One was I remember it was right before my wedding that we were making the record. It was right around now, 30 years ago, summer of '94. So I remember preparing for my wedding at the same time we were making it, which was quite a responsibility to be juggling, preparing for a wedding and making a record. I remember that. I also remember it was a tough time because Kevin Moore told us he was leaving the band while we were making that record. And then I also remember the O.J. Simpson car chase happening. I remember being at the studios in LA with Dwayne Barron and John Purdell making that album. And that's exactly when the OJ thing happened and the car chase. I remember that happening like literally right outside the doors of the studio. So those are the three things that kind of come to memory from that session for me.
Is there a Dream Theater album that is your favorite?
They all have different places in my life for different times and different feelings. I have a personal attraction to Train of Thought. It's one of my personal favorites because I really like the heavy aspect of the band. But I think the two most important records, I think everybody would universally agree, were Images and Words and Scenes from a Memory. Those were both made at pivotal times for the band. Both of those albums were making with a new lineup change. Images and Words was the first album with James Labrie, and Scenes from Memory was the first album with Jordan Rudess. And in both cases, we were coming off of very, very troubling times for the band that almost broke the band up. So both of those albums were like do or die and so important for us. And I think in both cases, we knocked it out of the park and nailed it with two really classic albums. And I feel a very similar feeling to this latest album. I guess anytime you make an album with a new lineup change, you feel invigorated and refreshed. And I think Images and Words and Scenes from Memory felt very inspired by the lineup change. And I think you could say the same with the new album we're making right now. You could really feel that revived energy and spirit.
If you had to choose one Dream Theater song to introduce the band to someone unfamiliar with your sound, which song would it be?
Oh man, I'd say A Nightmare to Remember would be a good one because it's got the three elements that make this band sound up, which is heavy, progressive, and melodic. And usually the longer Dream Theater songs, like A Nightmare to Remember or The Count of Tuscany or Octavarium or, In the Presence of Enemies, the long epic ones, Learning to Live, those are always the ones that you could fit so many different kinds of ideas and styles into one song. So honestly, any of those would be good representations. But I'll say Nightmare to Remember just because it's the the last one of its kind that the five of us wrote together, you know,
Mhm.
since the new album that we're making.
My colleague Mateus, who is with us, will ask you two questions regarding two specific Dream Theater songs, okay?
Okay.
Hello, Mike. And in the lyrics of the song Octavarium, there are mentions of song titles from various bands, like Gabba Gabba Hey, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. And who came up with the idea to include so many references?
Those are my lyrics. Octavarium, the lyrics were split in Octavarium between me and John Petrucci. And that particular section was my lyrical section, Full Circle. And it was just a fun idea I had of connecting words. It was kind of an experiment in just creating a connection of words that created like a full circle. The whole idea of Octavarium is coming full circle. And so this was kind of my idea to just have fun with pop culture and music and movie and lyrical references and connecting words. It's just kind of a fun experiment.
Oh, okay. It's a nice idea. And you wrote The Best of Times in honor of your late father, who passed away in 2009, right?
Yeah,
And will Dream Theater play this song live someday? There is
I
a
hope so.
possibility.
It was at the time when we put out Black Clouds and Silver Linings, it was too fresh for me. It was too difficult to hear, much less play back then because my father had just passed away. So the song was just very fresh and difficult for me. But, a lot of time has passed now. It's been 15 years since we made that album, and it remains one of the only Dream Theater songs uh, of my era that I have never played live. So yeah, it still kind of remains on the bucket list to do. So hopefully it will happen sometime
Mhm.
soon.
Thank you.
Uh, Mike, how would you describe your contribution to the album Nightmare of Avenged Sevenfold?
Well, my contributions were strictly as a drummer. I had no creative input. The record was ready to go when the Rev passed away, and unfortunately, he wasn't able to finish his drum parts. But he did do he played the electronic drum pads on their demos, so I was able to use that as a roadmap of what his intentions were. And it was my job to go there and finish the job that he was unable to finish with his untimely death. But that's it. I mean, I was there to supply a service to the guys, to finish up the Rev's drum parts and to be a supportive, shoulder to lean on, in this studio and then also live once we toured together.
Do you keep in touch with them? I mean,
Yeah,
Avenged is clearly turning into a more progressive metal, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I love their last album. I know a lot of people had issues with it because it was so different and challenging, but I appreciated that aspect of it. I thought it was, they really took a lot of chances, and it was a quite an artistic statement. So yeah, I speak to the guys occasionally. Like when the latest album came out, we were texting each other, and I was congratulating them and telling them how much I loved it. And they've always been supportive. When I rejoined Dream Theater, they all text me to say how happy they were. So yeah, we're in occasional touch.
When I interviewed JJ French recently, he said you might be the best rock drummer today, and that if Twisted
Uh,
Sister ever thinks about touring or recording again, they will contact you first. If your schedule allow, would you accept?
oh, absolutely. I mean, I feel like a real sister. I don't want to say a real brother with those guys, a real sister with those guys. It's a real, not a brotherhood, but a sisterhood. But yeah, I mean that they were so welcoming to me in my time, those last 2 years of their farewell tour. It was an honor for me to play with them for those last couple of years. And if they ever decide to do more activity, whether it be live or in the studio, I would absolutely be there for them. And I would be honored to continue with them if they want to do any further work. Yeah, absolutely.
In 2020, we spoke with Eloy Casagrande and stated that he has a lot of skill, technique, and speed. Do you think Eloy is the perfect drummer for Slipknot?
I do. Eloy really, well, actually, no, the perfect drummer for Slipknot would have been Max Portnoy. But the second best drummer for Slipknot behind Max is definitely Eloy. I mean, he's a perfect pick. He has so much incredible technique, but beyond technique, he plays with a lot of spirit and balls and personality. And sometimes for me, that's way more important than technique. But in his case, he has both. He has it all. And I couldn't be happier for him. I'm also happy for Grayson, who took his place in Sepultura, because he's another favorite modern drummer of mine. So the kind of the circle, not a circle, the triangle between Sepultura, Slipknot, and Suicidal Tendencies, with Jay Weinberg going to Suicidal, it's the perfect metal triangle. I think they've all three of those drummers are tremendous, and they've all gotten great gigs.
To which of these new modern drummers must we keep an eye out?
Well, all three that I just named, from the metal triangle, I think all three of those guys are some of the best out there. Of course, El Estabra. How do you say his name? El Estabra. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know.
I never could pronounce his name, but the great Spanish drummer. He's incredible to watch. There's so many great drummers out there. I open up my Instagram every day, and I'm just blown away by the level of drumming that's out there these days.
But the best.
Another one I love is Eric Imprada, who plays drums for the band Night Verses. He's also another favorite.
But the best will forever be Newport, right?
What? I'm sorry, you broke up. I couldn't hear you.
But the best ever will always be Newport, right?
Well, he'll always be one of my heroes, absolutely. But I mean, I don't think there's such thing as best in drumming. It's not a contest or a sport. There's only favorites, and I have a lot of favorites.
So just to sum things up, what's your message for Brazilian fans?
I can't wait to come down there with Dream Theater again. I can't believe it's going to be 15 years since we performed together in Brazil. I know it's going to be magical. I can't even imagine what the energy and excitement is going to be like in the venue, and I can't wait.
Mike, for my last request, would you please put hands up for the print screen? Thank you so much, man. Hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as we did.
All right.
Take care.
Thank you. And obrigado, and I'll see you soon.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Mike, can I ask a question?
Yo.
And in Brazil,
yeah.
is not a question, is pedido, como que é mesmo, Marcelo?
A request.
Requesting. In Brazil, please play You Not Me, the first Dream Theater song that I heard a long time ago. I love the song. Thank you.
I can guarantee you 1,000,000,000% we won't be playing that one. That's one of very few songs that have rarely been played, and yeah, we have a lot more important songs to play, and we don't take requests.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Mike.
All righty. See ya.